I know Detroit's a very, very, very rough place. How do y'all maneuver around the bull?
Mind our business. That's all you gotta do. Mind your business.
Man, your business.
You get another business, that's what some happen to you. We know we all got a part in this. You feel me? We all use our brains together. So it really ain't no Michael Jackson let out the group because we all need each other the same way. You feel me?
In the heart of Detroit beats a city teeming with stories, where the pulse of life intertwines with the rhythm of danger. Here, in the shadows cast by towering buildings, gangs hold sway over streets worn by the weight of history. In this urban jungle, fear and desperation become the currency of survival, where every corner holds a whispered secret and every alleyway echoes with the footsteps of those who dare to tread. Imagine a place where hope flickers like a dying flame, where the dreams of the innocent are swallowed whole by the darkness that prowls the night. It's a world where loyalty is bought with blood and betrayal lurks around every corner. In the most dangerous city on earth, the rule of law bends to the will of those who wield power without mercy.
Kids want to do drugs, go crazy. So right around this time of month, come up here and just get it off. The rave scene goes crazy. It's nasty out here. The party's just nonstop. They want to pop drugs, so it's just action all through October.
But amidst the chaos, there are whispers of defiance, of hearts yearning for a glimmer of light in the abyss. For every soul lost to the clutches of violence, there are those who dare to stand tall, to fight for a future where fear no longer holds sway. Join us as we delve into the depths of Detroit, where gangs reign supreme and the line between right and wrong blurs into obscurity. This is a tale of survival, of courage in the face of adversity, and of the indomitable spirit of those who refuse to be crushed by the weight of despair. Welcome to the heart of darkness. Detroit saw an influx of African Americans migrating from the South to seek employment opportunities in the booming automotive industry during the early 20th century. However, they faced discrimination and were often relegated to segregated neighborhoods with limited economic opportunities. This segregation and economic disparity laid the groundwork for social unrest and the formation of informal street gangs as a means of protection and solidarity within marginalized communities. During the Prohibition era, 1920-1933, Detroit became a hub for bootlegging and organized crime due to its strategic location near the Canadian border. This period saw the rise of infamous crime syndicates such as the Purple Gang, which dominated illicit activities like smuggling alcohol and controlling speakeasies. The presence of organized crime further fueled the proliferation of street gangs as they competed for territory and power. In the post-World War II era, Detroit experienced rapid demographic shifts and urban decay. The decline of the automotive industry, coupled with suburbanization and racial tensions, led to widespread unemployment, poverty, and deteriorating infrastructure in many inner-city neighborhoods. These socioeconomic challenges created fertile ground for the growth of street gangs, offering disenfranchised youth a sense of belonging and economic opportunity through illicit activities like illegal movement of drugs, extortion, and robbery. The civil rights movement of the 1960s and the subsequent urban unrest in Detroit, particularly the 1967 Detroit riots, highlighted the deep-rooted racial inequalities and police brutality faced by African American communities. Amidst this backdrop, street gangs such as the Errol Flynns and the Black Kers emerged as both a form of resistance against systemic oppression and a response to the socio-economic disenfranchisement plaguing inner-city neighborhoods. The crack epidemic of the 1980s exacerbated existing social problems in Detroit, leading to a surge in gang-related violence and criminal activity. Gangs, such as the Young Boys Inc., YBI, became notorious for their involvement in the drug trade, controlling vast territories and engaging in turf wars with rival gangs. Law enforcement efforts to combat gang violence often proved ineffective, and the proliferation of firearms further escalated the violence on Detroit's streets. Despite efforts to address gang activity through community policing initiatives and anti-gang legislation, gangs continue to pose a significant challenge to public safety in Detroit. Economic revitalization efforts in recent years have sought to address some of the underlying socioeconomic factors contributing to gang violence, but systemic issues such as poverty, unemployment, and racial inequality persist, fueling the cycle of gang recruitment and criminality in many urban neighborhoods. In Detroit, there are many reasons why young people might join gangs. These reasons often have to do with the socioeconomic situation in the city. Socioeconomic factors are things like how much money people have, what kind of jobs they can get, and how they are treated because of their race or background. One big problem in Detroit is poverty. Many families don't have enough money to live comfortably. This can make life really hard for young people. They might not have enough food to eat or a safe place to live. Without money, it's hard to get the things you need to succeed, like a good education or nice clothes. Poverty can also make people feel like they don't have any other options but to join a gang to survive. Another issue is the lack of good jobs and educational opportunities. In Detroit, there aren't always enough jobs available, especially ones that pay well. This can make it hard for young people to find work, even if they want to. Without a good education or a job, it's easy to feel like you're stuck, and that joining a gang is the only way to make money or feel important. Systemic issues like racism and discrimination also play a big role. In Detroit, like in many other places, people of color often face unfair treatment because of their race. This can make it harder for them to get ahead in life. When young people see that the system is stacked against them, they might feel like joining a gang is the only way to fight back or protect themselves. Overall, these socioeconomic factors create an environment where joining a gang can seem like the best option for young people. It might offer them protection, a sense of belonging, or a way to make money when they feel like they have no other choices. As we delve into the untold stories of Detroit, where gangs rule with an iron fist, and where the battle for control rages on with every sunrise. Welcome to a world where the line between good and evil is as thin as a razor's edge, and where the true cost of power is paid in blood. Cash gang versus band gang. In the gritty streets of Detroit, two rival gangs, Cash Gang and Band Gang, have been embroiled in a long-standing feud that has left neighborhoods shaken and law enforcement on high alert. This essay delves into the detailed information surrounding Cash Gang and Band Gang, exploring their origins, activities, territorial influence, conflict dynamics, and the broader implications of their feud on the city's gang landscape. Cash Gang, founded in the early 2000s, emerged from the impoverished neighborhoods of Detroit's East Side. Comprised mostly of young men seeking economic opportunities in the underground economy, Cash Gang quickly established a reputation for its involvement in various criminal enterprises, including illegal movement of drugs, extortion, and armed robbery. Operating primarily in the areas of East English Village and Chandler Park, Cash Gang became notorious for its aggressive tactics and willingness to engage in violent confrontations with rival gangs. On the other hand, Band Gang traces its roots back to the streets of Detroit's West Side, where it originated in the mid-2000s. Initially formed as a music collective, Band Gang evolved into a street gang with a diverse portfolio of criminal activities. From drug distribution to illegal movement of firearms, Band Gang expanded its influence across neighborhoods such as Brightmoor and Joy Road, leveraging its reputation for ruthlessness and organizational cohesion to solidify its presence in the city's underworld. Cash Gang and Band Gang. Each control distinct territories within Detroit, marked by their respective strongholds and operational bases. Cash Gang's sphere of influence encompasses the East Side neighborhoods, with key hubs in East English Village and Chandler Park. These areas serve as strategic locations for the gang's drug trade and extortion schemes, exploiting the vulnerabilities of impoverished communities to expand its illicit enterprises. Conversely, Band Gang holds sway over the West Side districts, notably Brightmoor and Joy Road, where it maintains a tight grip on the local narcotics trade and other lucrative criminal ventures. Through a combination of intimidation tactics and strategic alliances with other criminal organizations, Band Gang has managed to dominate its territory, fending off rival incursions and consolidating its power in the face of law enforcement pressure. The feud between Cash Gang and Band Gang is fueled by a complex web of rivalries, territorial disputes, and personal vendettas. Both gangs vie for control over lucrative drug markets and illicit enterprises, leading to frequent clashes and acts of violence in the streets of Detroit. Additionally, individual grievances and perceived slights often escalate into full-blown conflicts, further exacerbating tensions between the two factions. Despite their bitter rivalry, Cash Gang and Band Gang maintain strategic alliances with other gangs and criminal syndicates operating within Detroit. These alliances are forged out of necessity rather than camaraderie, as both gangs recognize the benefits of pooling resources and manpower to protect their interests and confront common adversaries. However, these alliances are often fragile and subject to shifting dynamics, as loyalty is contingent on mutual benefit and self-preservation. The feud between Cash Gang and Band Gang has profound implications for the neighborhoods they operate in and the broader gang landscape of Detroit. The escalating violence and criminal activity associated with their rivalry have destabilized communities, instilling fear and insecurity among residents and hindering economic development efforts. Moreover, the presence of rival gangs vying for control over territory exacerbates social tensions and perpetuates cycles of poverty and crime. From a law enforcement perspective, the conflict between Cash Gang and Band Gang presents significant challenges in terms of resource allocation and strategic planning. The proliferation of illegal firearms and the prevalence of gang-related violence strain police efforts to maintain public safety and uphold the rule of law. Moreover, the clandestine nature of gang operations makes it difficult to gather actionable intelligence and disrupt criminal networks effectively. The feud between Cash Gang and Band Gang exemplifies the entrenched challenges facing Detroit's neighborhoods and the broader urban landscape. As rival gangs compete for dominance and control over illicit enterprises, the social fabric of communities is frayed, and law enforcement agencies struggle to stem the tide of violence and criminal activity. Among the various gang conflicts, the animosity between the 7 Mile Bloods and the 42 Gang stands out as a notable example. 7 Mile Bloods versus the 42 Gang. The 7 Mile Bloods and the 42 Gang are both notorious street gangs operating within the urban landscape, particularly in the United States. Each gang has its distinct history, territories, and criminal activities. Originating from Detroit, Michigan, the 7 Mile Bloods emerged in the 1980s. Their name is derived from the 7 Mile Road, a significant thoroughfare in Detroit. Initially, the gang was an offshoot of the larger Bloods gang, which originated in Los Angeles. Over time, the 7 Mile Bloods established their own identity and became a formidable force within Detroit's street gang scene. The 7 Mile Bloods primarily operate in neighborhoods surrounding 7 Mile Road on the east side of Detroit. These neighborhoods include Morningside, East English Village, and Denby. The gang's influence extends beyond its territorial boundaries, with members involved in criminal activities across the city. The 7 Mile Bloods engage in a wide range of criminal activities, including illegal movement of drugs, arms dealing, extortion, robbery, and acts of violence. Their criminal enterprises contribute to the proliferation of crime and instability within the communities they operate in. The 42 Gang, also known as the 42 Gang, or simply 42, traces its origins to Chicago, Illinois. Like the 7 Mile Bloods, the 42 Gang is an offshoot of the larger Gangster Disciples organization. However, the 42 Gang has carved its own niche within the street gang landscape, particularly in Detroit. The 42 Gang predominantly operates in the vicinity of the 4200 block of Davison Avenue in Detroit, hence their name. Their territorial influence extends to adjacent neighborhoods, including Brightmoor and Joy Road. Similar to the 7 Mile Bloods, the 42 gang is involved in various criminal enterprises, including illegal movement of drugs, weapon possession, gang-related violence, and other illicit activities. Their presence contributes to the prevalence of crime and instability in their operational areas. Both gangs vie for control over lucrative territories within Detroit. Control of these territories not only provides access to illicit markets, but also enhances the gang's status and power within the criminal underworld. The 7 Mile Bloods and the 42 gang compete for dominance in the drug trade, particularly in the distribution of narcotics such as cocaine, heroin, and meth. Control over these illicit markets translates into substantial profits for the gangs, fueling their rivalry. Individual conflicts and personal vendettas between members of the two gangs often escalate into broader confrontations. Acts of retaliation and retribution contribute to the perpetuation of the rivalry and escalate tensions between the factions. The rivalry between the 7 Mile Bloods and the 42 gang has resulted in numerous violent incidents and conflicts over the years. Frequent turf wars erupt between the two gangs as they seek to expand their territories and assert dominance. These turf wars often result in shootings, stabbings, and other acts of violence, endangering innocent bystanders and residents. Acts of retaliation are common occurrences in the ongoing feud between the 7 Mile Bloods and the 42 gang. Members of each gang seek vengeance for perceived slights or previous attacks, perpetuating a cycle of violence and retribution. The rivalry has led to targeted unalivings of rival gang members, as well as innocent individuals caught in the crossfire. These brazen acts of violence instill fear and uncertainty within the communities affected by gang activity. The rivalry between the 7 Mile Bloods and the 42 gang has profound consequences for the surrounding communities. Residents living in neighborhoods affected by the gang rivalry endure constant fear and intimidation. The presence of armed gang members, along with the threat of violence, restricts the freedom and quality of life of law-abiding citizens. The prevalence of gang activity and violence deters investment and economic development in affected communities. Businesses hesitate to establish or expand operations in areas plagued by crime and instability, further exacerbating social and economic disparities. The toll of gang violence extends beyond physical harm, causing emotional trauma and loss for families and individuals impacted by senseless acts of violence. The loss of loved ones and the pervasive fear of violence leave lasting scars on the community fabric. The rivalry between the 7 Mile Bloods and the 42 gang epitomizes the destructive impact of gang violence on urban communities. Rooted in competition for territory, control of illicit markets, and personal vendettas, the feud between these two factions perpetuates a cycle of violence and instability. The ongoing conflict exacts a heavy toll on surrounding neighborhoods, fostering fear, economic disruption, and profound loss. Addressing these underlying issues requires a comprehensive approach that addresses root causes, empowers communities, and fosters collaboration between law enforcement and community stakeholders. Only through collective action and sustained efforts can Detroit reclaim its streets and offer its residents a brighter future, free from the scourge of gang violence. Law enforcement in Detroit uses various strategies to fight gangs and their crimes. One method is gathering intelligence. This means collecting information about gangs, their members, and their activities. Police use sources like informants, surveillance, and analyzing crime data to understand gang movements and connections. Community policing is another important strategy. This involves building trust and cooperation between police and the community. Officers work closely with residents to identify gang problems and develop solutions together. They hold meetings, organize events, and provide resources to help neighborhoods stay safe. Targeted enforcement operations are also key. police conduct raids, arrests, and seizures to disrupt gang operations. They focus on known gang hotspots and use tactics like undercover work and wiretapping to gather evidence against gang members. These efforts have had mixed results. On one hand, intelligence gathering helps police understand gang structures and prevent crimes. Community policing builds relationships that can lead to tips and support from residents. Targeted operations remove dangerous individuals from the streets and disrupt criminal activities. However, there are challenges and criticisms. Some argue that law enforcement focuses too much on punishment and not enough on addressing the root causes of gang involvement, such as poverty and lack of opportunities. Others say that aggressive tactics like raids and arrests can harm innocent people and worsen community relations. Additionally, gangs are adaptable and resilient. When police crack down on one group, others may rise to take their place. Gangs also use technology to evade detection and communicate, making it harder for law enforcement to keep up. Law enforcement in Detroit employs a combination of intelligence gathering, community policing, and targeted enforcement to combat gangs. While these efforts have had some success, they also face challenges and criticisms that need to be addressed for more effective gang prevention and intervention. The effect of gang violence in Detroit has made a big impact on the community. It caused a lot of problems for people living there. Gang violence hurts individuals, families, and the whole community. It leads to people losing their lives, experiencing trauma, and feeling afraid. Firstly, gang violence often results in loss of life. People get hurt or unalived because of gang fights and shootings. Families lose loved ones, and communities mourn their deaths. This loss of life leaves a lasting impact on everyone involved. It creates a sense of fear and insecurity among residents, especially those living in neighborhoods where gangs are active. Secondly, gang violence causes trauma to those affected. Witnessing or experiencing violence can have long-term effects on mental and emotional well-being. Children growing up in areas with high levels of gang activity may suffer from anxiety, depression, or post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD. They may struggle in school and have difficulty forming healthy relationships. Even adults can experience trauma from living in a community plagued by gang violence.